Today we have Australia's premier professional bodybuilder, Aaron Terilli. How are you?
Thanks for having me on, John.
Yeah, look, it's my pleasure. I've been wanting to do this for the longest time with this guy. I want to do an introduction. I want to know about you, what you've done, family, business. Tell me.
What I've won as a pro or amateur or everything, or?
Mate, what you did in Australia and, you know, your pro career.
So I started competing in 2013. Competed amateur 4 years. And my goal first out was a little bit different to the guys these days. I wasn't chasing the pro card when I started competing. I just loved training and bodybuilding. So I thought my first thing was I just want to be Mr. Australia. So I won Mr. Australia for the first year. My first show was FitX 2013, which eventually became the Arnold Classic, Tony's show. So I did the biggest show straight away. I won that, and then that was novice though, right? And the next year I came back and won the Open Men's FitX. Then I went along to win Mr. Australia, Australasia, and I said to my coach, let's win every title. So as soon as you haven't won one, everyone would say, oh, Aaron's won Arnold, but he hasn't won an Australasia. Oh, but he hasn't won at Nationals. You always get the shit talkers. So then I thought, let's go win everything, right? So in 4 years, I won 4 Mr. Australias. I won everything. FitX, I won an Arnold Classic. And then eventually, everyone started talking about pro cards. I wasn't fixated. I thought I want to win every title first. But I was enjoying just competing. I didn't care about it. In my eyes, I thought, I don't have a pro physique yet, so there's no point in winning a pro card until I believe I have a pro physique. So I'll just keep winning these amateur titles until it happens. Then in 2017, I won the Nationals for the 4th time and won the pro card. And I had a year or two off to buy a house and so I had more kids and had a kid, my first child. And I did my first pro show in 2019 March. I did the New Zealand Classic. I entered pro and I won my first pro show.
So now wait a minute, you're really the only Australian that's ever walked in to a pro show the first time and actually won it.
Yeah.
So I don't know anybody else in Australia that's done that.
No. So, and funny you say, because I've always been one that's trying to break records. So I wanted to break the amateur record. So my amateur record would be pretty hard to break. The amount of shows I won in the 4 year period, you don't really see anymore. You don't see guys winning like 6-7 shows in a row anymore. So I wanted to do that as an amateur. And then as a pro, it's the same thing. I was like, what if I could win a pro show straight away? So lucky for me, I won the New Zealand Pro. That's never been done. And then I went to America and I was runner-up, so which is pretty good. I was actually disappointed, if I'm being fully honest, because I actually won pre-judging, and then who knows what happened after that. Came back finals and
who actually won that?
Noel Adame from Mexico. Anyway, long story short, I was a bit annoyed because I could have had a clean sweep. I would have been done in my first Olympia with 2 wins and no losses, right? I was a bit annoyed anyway, but I'll never forget, Matt Masawi rang me, who's like the head New Zealand judge, after that show, and he said to me, keep your chin up, you'll beat that guy in the Olympia. So Mo was actually right. Later in that year, I went to the Olympia. Noel Adame, who beat me, was 17th and I was 9th. So I whooped him in the Olympia. So it was good to get it back where it mattered. Because in the end, all we care about is the Olympia, right?
Correct.
And I whooped him in the Olympia. So I was more conditioned, simply more conditioned. He was bigger than me, but I was peeled and he was a little bit off.
He didn't have arms.
No, he didn't have arms. He had bigger legs, but a bit more of a blockier physique, and I was just way leaner in the Olympia. So yeah, that's to give you a full rundown of what I'm at.
Can you show them what I mean? Can you flex that arm? I measured them and it's just incredible, and you cannot see what he really looks like in real life. Okay, and Lee Priest is a guy that's got tremendous arms, and Aaron's, is really good. He's got really good arms, and the reason why I'm making such a big fuss over it because I like big arms, and he's got them. All right, so you've won all these shows now. Tell me about your family and your business.
So after Olympia, I sort of got my career derailed a little bit. So what happened then? I hurt my shoulder. I actually never forget what I did. I was training next to Rolly Winkler in Doherty's gym, and it was the Arnold Classic in March after Olympia, right? And Rolly was there doing the Arnold bleed, and I was literally right next to him. And I put, the machine where it's hard to get into. the steep incline hammer press, and it's a bit dangerous because when you're fit, you start here, and you need someone to lift it up the first few inches. I squeezed into it, and I was training like a dumbass. I put 5 plates on the machine because I'm next to roller rink. I probably shut them off, and I went like that, and I couldn't get it up, and I needed someone to help me, but I just did it, and I pushed up, and my whole shoulder joint went click, and I did my AC joint. And then it hurt, and I just ignored it. Long story short, I did my AC joint. 6 months later, I did the other one. So then all of a sudden, I was in trouble, and I actually ignored it and jumped into a prep for New York Pro, which is about when COVID started, right? Got to 8 weeks out, and I was in agony pain, but I was looking crazy though. I was training on painkillers and everything, and then they shut the country down. We couldn't leave the country, so I didn't get to do the New York Pro. As soon as the show was over and I detoxed off all supplements and everything, my shoulder pain went astronomically. It was cooked. And then the doctors wanted to do a double operation, and they potentially could be potential retirement. He said, you may not ever come back, and I was just shitting myself. And then long story short, I found my current coach was actually here at the gym.
You need to mention him because this guy's a genius. And you haven't had any operations, have you?
No, so the doctor wanted to do operation, and I'd seen everyone, I was going to fly to Colombia and get stem cells and everything, but everyone I spoke to said you need to fix the joint. You can't just put drugs in there, PRP, you need to fix the structure of the joint because it was in the wrong position, right? Then I found Nick McCallum is my current coach.
So his name again?
Nicholas McCallum.
Okay.
So he explained that my shoulders were rolled forward from incorrect training all these years, pressing too much. So when you roll forward, your shoulder will impinge and your subperoneal space will close. And then it's just the worst feeling when it's closed. You're bone on bone, both shoulders, and it currently always inflamed. I got to the point where I couldn't even do 2 push-ups on the ground. Could not even do. And people are telling me to get a bigger chest. I couldn't even do a push-up. So anyway, Nick treated me for 18 months, deep tissue, and we had to change all my training completely. We were doing back sessions, 3 back sessions a week to tension up the back, to pull my shoulders back to where they were. And he was stretching me, drastic stretching, probably 3 or 4 treatments a week, I'd say for 6 months. Then he backed it off a bit, and over time my shoulders, I was like this, they slowly came back to here. And all of a sudden, the pain had gone. Like, I could feel it straight away. My shoulder would roll back to where it's supposed to be, and then my subperoneal space is back. And the pain was gone, but so I owe that to Nick for saving my career. So then after that, I had some personal issues where I broke up with my fiance for a year. And that was another reason I didn't compete that year, because everyone knows goes through something like that. We got 3 kids together. I was in the headspace to compete then. That set me back another year. But while I was still recovering from Nick's treatment, and now I'm back together with her, back rebuilding my physique, and back to my biggest and baddest I've ever been. And now I'm ready to do a show again. So,
and you've got...
It's been a full fucking round circle, you know?
How many children?
I have 3 kids now. So back in Olympia, in 19, I only had one son, Levi. Now I have 2 identical twin daughters who are 2, Lola and Maya. So now I have 3 kids. I had 1 business, 1 kid now. Then now I have 3 businesses, 3 kids. So life's it's a whole other game for me now. Like, I can't just think about competing. I have 3 kids to think about. I have businesses. It's not as simple as for me as just jumping into a show. I have to, all my boxes have to be ticked before I can focus on a show. So I'm ready to go now to compete, but I'm just trying to get my ducks in order before I can commit.
Let me ask you this. Do you think being backed into a corner sometimes actually makes you perform better?
Yeah, sometimes I am that way where if I push myself in the deep end, I'll always swim. Otherwise, sometimes if I don't, I get complacent.
Yeah.
You know, because I had plenty of times, I've had some mental battles the last 18 months where I was like, you know what, I made the Olympia. No one in Australia hardly makes the Olympia. I'll just retire. That's enough. I've been so close to retiring and going, fuck it. It was hard to get the size back. It was really, the 18 months of recovery of my shoulders was agonising. I was in pain for a year, and couldn't grow properly, couldn't train my chest properly. I just wanted to quit. Stretching hours a day, like I was like, you know what, I've got 3 kids, got the business now, I'll just retire. I had $1 million. I told Nick 5 times I'm retiring. And then Nick's defense, he said, no way. you've got too much genetics to go to waste.
Let me ask you couldn't do 2 push-ups. So now you're back to full strength.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you later about your training load and all of that.
Yeah.
But, I really need to emphasise this guy that's helping him, Nick.
Yeah.
I just spoke with him, just randomly asked about a couple of my problems, and this guy's next level.
Yeah, it's got a whole new angle that I never. No one ever came into me with giving me a reason why my training caused my problems. He picked apart my training, and now I can see it. My training caused me to be where I'm at. That day I hurt myself next to Roller Winkler. It wasn't because of that movement. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I had impingement issues that were very close to impingement, but I didn't know. And I had structural imbalances like internal rotation of the shoulders, but no one had diagnosed me. I just didn't know because I was training like a movement bodybuilder. I was pressing so much, and it wasn't until Nick diagnosed it properly. I thought no one's ever taught me this. No one ever taught me to stretch. No one ever talked to me about my posture, the balance of tension on both sides of the body, posterior, anteriorly. Like Nick's was a whole other level. Then he taught me how to structure the week to counteract those things. So how can we train so over time you're getting better, not worse? So it's simple, to put it as simple as possible. We need to be pulling more than we're pushing to bring the shoulder back to the posterior. Very simple, but no one can explain this to me. So all of a sudden, we went from 2 to 1, push to pull, to 4 to 1, pull to push. I was doing 2 or 3 back sessions before I was pushing once. So with that ratio over time, my shoulder position was slowly going back to where it should be, and my back was blowing up like a balloon. My back was, and then the more my shoulders were back, better contraction in my chest I was getting. Because if you can't retract the scapula, you can't activate your chest. You've got to roll it in. That chest becomes like you can't activate it when your shoulders are rolled in. It just changed my whole training outlook, and no one had come to me with this look before. It's
basically. He taught you that chest work, your chest has to be in front of your shoulders.
Yeah, like if your shoulders aren't back, and my elbows were high all the time. He told me to have the elbows lower, and then my chest was just activating so much better. Where I had big arms and my chest because my posture was like this. If it's internally rotated, the chest can't fly properly. So I can't believe I trained with some good bodybuilders in my life. Famous coaches overseas, all the big names. No one had ever come to me just before. And Nick was only 23 when I met him. And I was like, you're ahead of your time.
Yeah, no, the guy sounds like
he's gifted.
He's gifted.
Yeah.
Now, what I wanted to ask you is, who inspired you? There must have been a person that you saw, or maybe somebody that you spoke to, a famous bodybuilder that you may have liked, or somebody who inspired you to start all this?
Well, the first ever bodybuilder that I ever seen in my life on a magazine was Ronnie. Then how I got into bodybuilding was I was actually training, believe it or not, I was training to pick up girls, to be honest. I trained for 2 reasons, right? It was to pick up girls because I was short and I wanted big muscles. That's me being honest. And I was playing Aussie rules football, and because I was shorter, I wanted to be bigger to be better at football. So I thought if I'm a bit thicker, I'll be running through the pack harder. So I started training at 15 years old. Like I was still at school. My mum would take me to the Good Life gym at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I trained with my mum. You'd never believe I actually trained with my mum. And then she dropped me off at school, and I started getting muscle up, pretty thick arms straight away. The arms were always gifted, right? And then when I was playing football, all the kids at school used to call me steroid boy. When I was a 15-year-old natty, I didn't even know what a steroid was. But I had big arms, had no chest. And then I got addicted to that way. And then one day I walked into a supplement shop at Southall, and Michael Galley said to me, "You should compete." And then he sort of tried to convince me to compete. I wasn't sold on the story. But I went to World International one day, and then I seen Logan Robson, and I thought he was a monster. I thought Logan was the biggest dude that I ever met in my life, and I was like blown away. And Logan back then was just an amateur bodybuilder. Then he told me to compete. So Logan Galley convinced me to do it, and all I cared back then was going to festivals and playing footy. And then in the end, I thought, all right, Logan. I said no to Logan the first year. It was 2012. I said no. Then 2013, I said, all right, I'll do it. I competed, and then I won FedEx, and the rest was history after that. So I owe it to Logan. And funny, long story short, Logan, who I met at that gym, is now the godfather of my son.
Incredible.
Which is cool, round circles. And Logan said to me, my first or second year competing, we watched the Olympia once at the cinema. They had on the signal. Luke Holiday Smith organised it. And he said to me, bro, I swear to God, one day you're Olympia material. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, what? Because he's got Olympia genetics. And I didn't believe Logan, but I'll never forget that he said that. He was the first ever to say it. And then in 2015, Sean Roden and Dexter Jackson told me the same thing.
Yeah, but you know what? Genetics.
You still got to apply yourself.
Nobody wants anything with genetics. I think what you got in here and your mindset.
Yeah, you have to have the both. There's no doubt.
You know, lots of people with genetics place last.
Yeah, don't have the both. Oh, there's no doubt. The mindset is 100% the most thing. I guess if you have the genetics, you've got the right equipment to get the job done. If you don't have it up here,
And yeah.
don't get me wrong. I've met guys with genetics, and I've been blessed to think. I looked at him and thought, thank God he doesn't have the. Because I can see he just doesn't have the mental.
Yeah.
You know, because I've met guys with good genetics before, but they just don't have it. You know.
Now, training. Tell me how you're training. I want to know about your loads, your rep range, tempo, because I get the feeling you did all the heavy stuff, but the improvements you're making now it's more smart training, isn't it?
Yeah.
So your loads, how your loads, is it heavy training,
So
light?
How I was training prior was literally, I would go put my computer on, put Ronnie Coleman on the screen, Dorian Yates, blood and guts. I like to train angry, heavy, crazy. That's what I grew up watching Dorian and Ronnie, right? And I was coming in the gym, killing myself. Like when I was 80 kilos, I was benching 200 kilos, 4 reps. At 80 kilo weight, I was strong. But I had a point to prove because I wasn't a popular bodybuilder yet, so I had an ego. So I'm in the gym training like an egotistical maniac. But I was strong for my size. So I was a little, I'm 108 now, I was 80. Off-season weight 80, small. But I was strong as an ox. I was shoulder pressing 70 kilo dumbbells. But all that did was, I look back now, it's so dumb. I'll do a 200 kilo bench. Then the next day, come and train shoulders, which is an absolute no-no. The next day I'd be pressing again, and I would come in and kick the 70s up. And I was doing 70s for, I think Sam Pierce went back and forth for a while, actually who could do the most. And I ended up doing 12 in the 70s. And the next day I was in the doctor's getting cortisone shots in my shoulders.
We're talking about 70
kilos. 70 kilos. So they're the biggest dumbbells in the World Gym actually. I was shoulder pressing for 12. Then I said to John Davies, I had such an ego then. I said to John Davies, what's your strongest behind the head shoulder press? He goes, 4 plates. And whether he was telling the truth or not, I said, good, I'm going to beat it. So I spent the next 3 months trying to do 4 plates, shoulder presses, and I got up to 4 plates. But then I cooked my shoulders. And I was training like that, which was completely dumb. With no respect. My split was just what I wanted to train, and had no respect of preserving my joints, and I didn't understand the balance of tension and how your posture could change depending on how your split was structured. So that was my downfall. That got me all the way to the Olympia though, training like that. And then I fell to pieces my physique. Now the way me and Nick train, we've got me training, we start the week with the most important thing, which for me is always back. Back is first. Then the next day is a posterior day. So it's like a prelude to my leg day on Sundays. I had a lot of lower back pain and a lot of knee pain. So posterior day for me is just hamstrings, quads, and glutes. So I never used to train glutes. But Nick taught me the importance of training my glutes and my hamstrings more. And believe it or not, even though I've got big hamstrings, I barely really train hamstrings my whole career. I only do 2 movements for hamstrings and that's it. But I do a lot of hip hinge stuff now, and Nick got me stronger in the hip hinge movement because I was really weak at deadlifting and any hip. I'd never done a glute ham raise in my whole life, and that was my downfall. Now that I got strong at that, my whole physique, my quads blew up, my lower back pain was gone. That's why I do the posterior day. And then the next training day is chest. I do chest alone. I stretch for an hour before chest, and I get the ball into my pec, my front delt, and my lat. And I do some warm-up drills, so some flutters and some rotator cuff stuff to put a bit of blood sort of around the rear of the shoulder. And then I even do a little underhand row with some dumbbells, put blood in the back. Then I press. So it takes me 45 minutes to set up the chest to prevent my shoulders from going back to where I were. Then usually the next day is a rest day. Then I do arms on their own. And then when I go to do delts, before I do delts, I do a second back day before I do delts. So I start the back session, the delt session, with only 3 movements of back. Some underhand rows, some behind the head lat pull down. And it's the same thing, it's all to keep the shoulder in the right position. And then a second back day is always going to benefit me anyway, because back's the number one priority. I do minimal delts. I don't do heaps of delts. Some side raises, some behind the head side raises, some Arnie press, and a behind the head Smith press for shoulders. I don't do heaps of delts. And then Saturday, the final session of the week is my big leg day. I do a little bit of glutes and hams again at the start, and a little bit, a couple of movements, and then it's all quads from then on. 4 movements of quads, which is not a lot, I guess, about 8 to 10 working sets. I started with 3 movements a few months ago, and I'm at 4. I slowly increase that over the next few months, and then I'll pull it back.
So how many sets are you doing per body part? What are you mean?
So all body parts are different. They don't all correlate. It depends on which one's my priority. But for chest and legs, probably 8 to 10 working sets. So not heaps. Like I don't do 3 working sets. I usually only do 2. So it's not as much volume as a lot of other guys do. But
what about rep range?
Back day I'll do a bit more volume. Rep range with chest, I'm doing undulating rep range at the moment. So week 1, I'll do 6 to 8 reps. That's the heavy set. And this is good for my shoulder joint too. Week 2, I'll go 10 to 12 reps. Week 3, 12 to 15 reps. So it's almost like a heavy day, a medium day, and a high volume day. You understand? So week 1, I usually tend to do 60 kilo dumbbells. So 6 to 8. Week 2, 55, 10 to 12. Week 3, 50 reps all out.
50 reps?
Yeah, 50 kilos, 50 kilos, all out on the 50s. So I'll range between 50 kilo dumbbells and 60 kilos. Okay. Low reps, medium reps, high reps.
So what's your high reps?
Sometimes I'll have a real good day where I'll grab the 50s and punch out 26 reps in the 50s. But I really should cap it at 15 reps. But the main point is I'm undulating my rep scheme over a 3-week period which rotates, which sort of saves me because it means I don't have to come in and go all out every week. I don't want to come in, say 60s is my biggest. I can do the 70s, but I just don't feel the risk rewards there for my shoulder joint that I've had. You know what I'm saying?
So tell me your chest workout. Tell me the exact chest workout or a chest workout that would be an Aaron Terilli's average.
So the biggest thing I changed for my chest is I got rid of barbell. I was barbell pressing, and that's just a bad movement for me. The barbell bar, the movement of the humerus and that there is just a bad movement for me. It was too much tricep, not enough chest, and it was injuring the fuck out of me. So no barbell movements at all anymore. I switched to dumbbells, which my whole career, to be honest, I was very lazy doing dumbbells. Probably because I didn't even want to pick them up with the racket. It sounds silly, but I just never wanted to go pick them off the racket because they're annoying. How much easier is it just to use a bench press? But the bench press was really my downfall. So now my biggest change is I switch to dumbbells. I start with flat press dumbbells, just obviously flat bench, for 2 or 3 sets of that. Then I stay exactly there. I put a slight incline. I only move it 3 inches up because I don't want to go too high because I get too much foamed out. And Dorian used to only do a few inches. He was the same on incline press. The bench was only a little bit up. I feel like most guys make the mistake these days of having it too steep. I only put it 2 inches up, and I do 2 more sets, working sets of incline. Then I go to a machine which we have at EFC, which is an upright seated chest press. But the seat's actually back a little bit, so it emulates more of a decline press being seated upright. I'll do 3 working sets of that. Then I do 2 different sets of flies. One's a machine fly, and then they've got the old school cable fly, and it's not really making us have this anymore. Goldie's just sold it, so I'm but EFC has a cable one with the cables. But sometimes I'll do an upright one, and then directly side on one, and then that'll be into chest.
So Australia's premier pro again, Doesn't do bench presses. No bench presses. Bench presses don't exist in this program.
And that was coming from the guy that I lived and breathed. When I started bodybuilding, it was like, how much do you bench?
Yeah.
That was my thing. And I wanted to be able to say a big number. So, and I got to 200. I got footage of it on Facebook. That was my downfall, to be honest. It was the worst thing that fucking ever happened to me. It just didn't agree with me. You know?
Okay, now the diet. Okay, you do anything different to other people? Fats.
So the off-season
we're going to talk about both. To grow. How do you grow your physique with your diet?
So I've been blessed to get away with, like, this is probably not going to be very inspiring to some, but I've got away with my whole career with being a little bit, what I say, naughty or lazy or both. In the off season, I just pretty much switched back to normal life. So I'm not like those other bodybuilders in this new era that track their macros every day, all year round, and just live and breathe the container and the chicken and rice every day. All my off seasons, my whole career, I've gone back to family mode and just gone through my day eating 4 or 5 meals, practically whatever I found, just whatever, chicken and rice, or even eating out. And I never really, to be honest, you'll never believe it, I made all the way to the Olympia, and I never really tracked an off season, right? And I was obviously, as years go on, you get smarter at what you can eat, what you can't eat. I know what inflames my stomach. And now these days, as I'm best I've ever been now, this is the most diligent I've ever been, but I still don't track my macros every single day. But as a blanket statement, I'll try and get in 6 meals a day now, with 2 to 3 shakes as a maximum. I like to try and keep it at 2. If I'm having a bad day, it'll be 3. Because if I'm going to go to bed, I'd rather have a shake than have nothing.
Sure.
But I'm trying roughly to go about 40 to 50 grams of protein per meal, 100 grams of carbs approximately. And then in regards to fat, I usually have 1 gram of fat per body weight. So about 100 grams of fat per day. But my main priority in my head when I'm having every meal is I'm always having 150 to 200 grams of meat. And then I'm just always trying to get 100 grams of carbs in. Because if I can get in 6 a day, 600 grams of carbs for me is enough for me to grow. It's not a lot for some other big guys, but for me, 500 to 600 a day consistently, I grow very consistently on that.
50 grams of protein.
Yeah. Okay. So roughly about 300 grams.
So even though he says he doesn't track anything, instinctively, he's got it all worked out.
Yeah, so when I say that I don't get my fitness power nothing out, but I can look at food and I know, and I've been coaching for a long time, that I know I can get away with 220 protein, but 300 is ideal. I could go as high as 360, but it works at 240, 220, and it works at 300, but I always aim for 300, and if I'm hitting 600 carbs for that day, happy days. And then every now and then, in the off season, I don't restrict myself. If my missus wants to go for lunch, we go for lunch. But if I go for lunch somewhere, I'm actually a bit of the opposite. I'll tend to get steak and salad. Because so many restaurant foods upset your stomach, and I'm pretty boring when I go to lunch. I'll get a big steak, some veg, and Coke Zero. I'm too worried these days about upsetting my stomach. I can't handle McDonald's and KFC. It's very, very extreme if I eat that shit. Because I'll get bloated, and then I find I can't eat meals for the next 4 or 5 hours after. It fills in for like 24 hours. So I really try and stick to whole food.
Okay, so then zeroing in for a contest.
I'm really boring. It's literally all just whole food. Like 6 up to 7 meals a day when I'm in the
Well, start with your first meal.
So my Olympia prep meal was it was a cereal, rice flakes, 120 grams of rice flakes with some dried pineapple on top, blueberries, so a bit of dried fruit and real fruit, and then it was an omelette with like 9 or 10 egg whites, 2 yolks, maybe a banana as well. Then it was practically 2 steak and rice in a row, 2 steak and rice, and then chicken and rice pre-trainer with avocado on it. 10 grams of olive oil on every single meal with a gram of salt on every single meal. And then I did have some carb powder, pre-intra post, 50 grams of carb powder, pre-intra post, cyclodextrin carb powder. Once I finished training, 40 grams of WPI, cyclodextrin again, 7 thin rice cakes with 10 grams of jam on each one. That was my favourite post-training. I'll still do that post-training to today, year round. favourite is the jam and rice cakes I never get sick of, and I digest it like nothing. Then dinner was, test my memory, it was a salmon and rice, and then before then it was an omelette, I think it was 4 slices of toast. So 7 meals roughly, Olympia prep, and then we were carb cycling. So it was 3 high days, 4 low. And over time it was 2 high days, 5 low. I always kept the 2 high days pretty much all the way through. You know, I never had to stretch too much or anything, all the way to the end. My high days were about 600 grams of carbs, and the lowest that I ever hit in Olympia prep was 180 low carbs. And that felt like zero to me. In that Olympia, it felt like zero. So yeah, towards the end, the last 4 weeks out, we pushed maybe a week straight of lows to get that final condition. And fats were always about a gram per body weight the whole way through.
So really the last couple of years you've already told us what you've been doing. It's been pretty much just getting your life back together.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you opened up and you explained everything, because it shows the human side. You know, everybody's got relationships or relationship issues, and you came straight out and said it.
Yeah.
I guess you've got it all under control, and you've got some beautiful children.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually think the way you're set up, when you're in that family environment and you're backed into a corner. Look, I always refer to Lee Haney, a family man, right? Believes in God, God-like person, and me myself personally, I always knew that in order for me to perform my best, having a stable family life to me was a gift, and it really helped. You're a really busy guy. I mean, I don't know how many concrete trucks you've got.
Yeah.
And you know, you said you also coach, but that's not your business.
No.
Right? That's like a passion, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Olympia year I coached a lot. I got up to 60 people at one point.
Wow.
So at one point I was coaching a lot. I PT'd that year. I stopped PTing, then I went fully online. And after Olympia, I did online coach up to 60 people. And I don't know for what reason, but I just got it. It was sending me crazy a little bit. Like, wake up Monday morning and Tuesday morning check-in day, so 140 messages, like 60, 70 people messaging 2 or 3 messages each. After a while, it was damaging my relationship a little bit. I was on my phone 24/7, and for whatever reason, I sort of just got away from it. I don't know, I can't really explain why. I sort of wish I didn't, but I just couldn't deal with it. And I had other businesses, so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to buy more concrete trucks. They make passive income. I don't have to babysit them as much. I feel like I'm babysitting 60 people right now, and I just needed a break from coaching. And that little break ended up turning into a big break, and I had like 2 years off coaching. I still coached a couple of people that wouldn't let me go. Like some people insisted that they would not let me go anywhere else. So I always coach 4 or 5 because I'm so close to them. But I did but it was a big business at one point. Like I think Olympia year, not to give you guys numbers, to show you what the Olympia can do for your career. My online coaching before Olympia was 60 grand for the year. The year after Olympia, 260 grand.
Wow.
So people say you don't make money making Olympia, but there's other ways that, just to give you a perspective of how much Olympia can blow your name up. And I gave it away.
But this is that most of them were online.
And that was no PT. The year I did 260 was no PT. That was all online. All online, and I was selling shirts, AP clothing. I sold a lot of shirts that year when I did merchandise and stuff. So, but I gave it away, which is crazy to give that amount. But I lost the love for it, and I feel like if I lose the love for something, I can't give people my everything. So I just decided to step away. And I had 4 concrete trucks, and now we have 11. So I decided to grow that. And now I'm sort of revamping my coaching a little bit, and I just want to find a happy balance in between. Maybe I'll go back to coaching 10 to 15 guys that I really love, like a real good group of guys that I can be like a father figure to them. And that's what I'm never going to go back to coaching 50 people because I'll have a meltdown.
So what next, Darren?
So my main dream, if I had to tick off a dream, is I want to win the New York Pro. You know, and like I'm saying that because I don't want to go and compete in New York Pro.
You know, what Aaron actually said to me that he may not mention is, this guy's looking for the hardest contest. He's not looking for an easy way out. This guy's constantly looking for the deep end to throw himself into. which is so commendable because he's not looking for any easy wins. You want to throw yourself.
I'm not looking for any cheap little shows in Asia or some random countries. I want America, USA. I want the big stage, and there's no bigger stage. Everyone knows the New York Pro has the most prestigious name, and I was supposed to do the New York Pro during COVID, and I'm never going to let it go. I was the best I'd ever been in my career. It was the easiest prep I'd ever done. I had no stress. I had striated glutes at 8 weeks out, and it got stripped away from me. We couldn't leave the country, so there's no way I'm letting that go, and I'm not going to finish that job. Because once I start a job, I'm finishing it. So I've got to go back and get that show. So I know that I can win that show. Whether I win it next year or the year after, I'm going to win it.
Have you just got that one in mind, or do you think maybe?
So I'll do that show, and then if I don't win that show, obviously I want to make the Olympia right. I will just do any show in the world, whatever's first. So once I've done that show, if there's a show in Italy, I'll fly to Italy. If there's a show in anywhere in the world, I'm going to keep going. I'll probably do 4 shows in a row until I win. If I can't win in 3 or 4 shows, then I'll rest and reset. But I'm confident in my ability that I've always been first call at every show I've done it. So I've been first and second, and then Olympia I was obviously top 10. So I'm confident that I will, but I'll just keep going until I qualify. But like I say, 3 or 4 shows and then that's it. But I'm confident that I'll get it done before that. But like I said, I'm starting with the biggest show first.
Yeah.
I want it in New York more than anything. I want to break records. I want to make history. The highest placed New York Australian ever was Lou Wood, and it was 6th. So
I got a 5th.
Oh, you got a 5th in New York?
Yeah, that was my first pro.
Oh, there you go.
But hey, you know what? Okay, that's great.
Is that Night of Champions then?
Night of Champions.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's really great. But this guy here, like the first Australian to walk into a pro show and actually win it, it's not an easy thing to do. I'm not sure if everybody realises his calibre and the calibre of people that he competed against to just walk in.
Well, Justin Wessels was in that show.
Well,
Justin Wessels, and no Australian had beaten him in 20 years, but Justin was an idol of mine. That was nerve-wracking for me because just after I got inspired by Logan, I never forget, I seen a photo of Justin Wessels, my first ever prep, and I was blown away at how he's one of the most conditioned guys I've ever met.
Well, I mean, who's got better condition than Justin Wessels?
I seen a photo of Justin and I was like, this is I screenshot of it and I had it as my background on my phone, my first ever prep. And who would have known that 20 years later? 6 years later, I'm competing against him in a pro show for the Olympia qualification. And I was shitting myself, to be honest, because I suffered that prep. I never suffered that hard in my life. As Charlie Luca said, we'll beat him muscularity-wise, but you're going to have to suffer. You need to be 5% of his condition. So that was tough, that prep, but I'll never forget that level. Which props to Justin, shows you that he lives and breathes that suffering.
Absolutely.
People don't understand what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's hell.
Now, is there anybody you want to thank? Your family, a gym? I mean, today we're at World's Gym. This is where I come to do these podcasts. It's a great group of people here. But is there anybody that you'd like to thank? Family, a gym, a coach?
Yeah, well, thanks, I guess, first off to John for having me down here. World Gym World Parks, really nice gym, really sick equipment. So make sure, guys, if you're in Sydney, come check the gym out because this gym is amazing. I can't wait to get a session in after this and then hit some arms. My sponsors, TMJ, Massive Joe's, for all my supplement and apparel I supply from them. I've been with them for 3 years now, since the Olympia, and such a good supporting brand for me. They do absolutely everything for me. Food for Fitness, supplying all my food. They actually come from Sydney. So, especially for my Sydney people down here, if you want fresh food delivered to your house, hit up Food for Fitness. And my sponsor, gym back at home, EFC Empire Fitness, thanks for looking after me there. And then my partner, like years ago, I'll thank my home, my missus for putting up with me.
And your children.
And my children, yeah. So like John said before, your life's got to be, your ducks have got to be in order to your prep. And your partner and your family must be on board because it's about filling her cup for a few months and filling my cup. The relationship's got to have, you got to, how do I say it? it can't just be all take as a professional bodybuilder.
Be balanced.
I'm going to be filling her cup in the off season. That's why I told you guys I switch off in the off season. I try to be the best present dad. I'm fun. We go on holidays. We do fun stuff. We go to cafes. We have lunches. We do fun shit every weekend. We do fun stuff. I don't want to be bodybuilding 7 days a week because then I start preps and they're already in a shitty mood. Where if they have a really fun year, then I say to my partner, "Hey, okay, I've got to prep now. Can you give me a little bit back?" She can put herself out a little bit, look after the kids a little bit more because I've got to focus, especially in the last 10 weeks. So that's why I said you got to fill her cup and then fill my cup back. It's got to be a balance. Otherwise, if it's take, the relationship is never going to last. And bodybuilding will break your relationship up because it's too much of a selfish sport. You got to have the family on the same page.
So we're looking then for you to do the New York Pro Show 2024.
I want to compete before then, but there's no doubt I'm doing it in New York no matter what happens. Like, whatever happens. If I compete before then the New York is my #1 goal because that's just a dream to win. And but I'm eager to go now. Like I'm frothing at the bit now, but I've got to be patient. Keep improving. I'm getting better every week at the moment, the best I've ever looked. So I'm just going to abide by time, wait for the time to arrive,
I love the passion. This is, we can just keep on talking. We've only got a limited amount of time. Aaron, I really want to thank you for taking the time out because I think this is really educational, what you've done today. And hopefully we can do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, we'll do it again. I'll be down to Sydney again, so thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you. I love you all.